Tonight on Joynews, Prime Opposition National Democratic Congress calls for full parliamentary probe of the invasion of the parliamentary chamber by armed security personnel during the election of Speaker, as well as the conduct of the Tema West MP and the Clerk of Parliament.
The NDC is calling for a full parliamentary inquiry, particularly the snatching of ballot papers by now dishonorable Carlos Ahemkra, even though he had managed to chew and swallow 2 ballot papers.
The NDC General Secretary has, however, justified the conduct of the NDC MP Fasawase. There have been similar justifications from members of the governing NPP. Parliament, however, believes that disorder that characterized the election of the Speaker should be shelved in the interest of parliamentary cohesion. We'll be getting the view of a governance analyst. Also, President Akufo-Addo has paid glowing tribute to his family and close associates, who says he saw him through his first term, saying he remains optimistic he will prevail in his second term despite the challenge to his electoral victory.
Rebecca Victoria Okako. Then I say, shut up on me who buying pa.
In business, air tickets expected mid-year subject to COVID-19 mitigation.
Airlines get back to their pre-pandemic schedules, or at least begin to grow back into that. There's going to be a lot of empty seats. The demand is not going to recover until the supply is put into the market.
Also in this bulletin, an MPP MP who was accused of betraying the cause of the party during the election of Speaker has denied the accusation.
This allegation is unfortunate, and the video that I have seen purporting to suggest that I didn't cast my vote is palpably false.
My name is Aisha Ibrahim, and Joynews Prime comes to you live from our Fun of our studios at Kokomlimle here in Accra on Digital Terrestrial TV, because we are free to air, and on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144. This is the home of independent, fearless, credible, and impactful journalism. Stay tuned in. Many thanks for choosing us. Let's begin with opposition NDC, which is demanding a full-blown parliamentary probe into the invasion of armed personnel into the chamber of parliament during the election of a speaker last Tuesday. That's not all. The party wants the House to investigate the snatching of ballot papers by Carlos Ahemkra and also the Clerk of Parliament for allegedly conniving with the NPP to deny the MP-elect Fasin North from participating in the election. General Secretary of the party, Jonas argued the invasion of the armed military men is not only an affront to the country's democracy, but also exposes what he described as the undemocratic tendencies of the Akufo-Addo government. Was addressed in a news conference Friday.
NDC is calling for a full parliamentary inquiry to be instituted by the Speaker of Parliament into the unfortunate events of the January 7th, 2021 in Parliament, particularly the invasion of the Chamber of Parliament by gun-wielding military men with Azubu marks and the snatching of ballot papers by now dishonorable Carlos Ahemkra, and to punish all those who are found capable in culpable in the accordance with the laws of this country, including the conduct of the Clerk of Parliament on that occasion, and to forestall any such occurrence in the future. how the Marshal of Parliament allowed the security of Parliament to be breached by people who are described in parliamentary parlance as foreigners on the floor of Parliament. If you are not a member and you enter there, you are a foreigner. So how the Marshal, who is in charge of the security of Parliament, allows his domain to be invaded in such a matter must be a matter of inquiry, and those who deserve to be punished must be punished accordingly.
He described as premeditated the conduct of the Tema West MP.
MPP MP for Swami, Honorable Oseiche Mensah-Bonsu, was seen directing Honorable Carlos Ahenkra, another MPP MP for Tema West, to the table where the ballots were being counted. In fact, Honorable Oseiche Mensah-Bonsu was seen shoving another MP off to pave the way for Carlos Ahenkra. Immediately after, Honorable Carlos Ahenkra dashed to the table, snatched the heap of ballots being counted for Bagwen, and took to his heels in a Usain Bolt style. Once again, the gallantry of the NDC MPs was on display, and within minutes, the ballot thief had been arrested and the papers retrieved, even though he had managed to chew and swallow 2 ballot papers.
Queried about the snatching of the ballot box used in the election of the Speaker by the NDC MP for Asawase, Muntaka Mubarak, and the vandalization of voting booths by some NDC MPs, Mr. Seydou Nketia justified their actions.
Killing may be wrong, but if you see somebody going to bomb Akosombo and you kill that person, the court will set you free. So when you talk about disruptive conduct, it doesn't include the conduct that is intended to prevent wrongdoing. So Muntaka acted well, and I believe he deserves a national award. So we indicated here that, you see, where injustice and impunity become law, then resistance becomes a duty. So somebody is doing something wrong. You have tried using every means to stop that person, you will not stop. You must resist him with all the force you can command. And that is lawful. So you will be acting in the interest of Ghana if you prevent people by whatever means from subverting our constitution. So that's why I call those who are involved in that activity gallant MPs. They stood up in defense of our democracy and our constitution.
He also explained why the NDC boycotted the inauguration of President Akufo-Addo, insisting the party does not recognize him as president.
Let me state clearly and unequivocally that notwithstanding the inauguration of Mr. Akufo-Addo as president of Ghana, the NDC shall not, and I repeat, shall not recognize Mr. Akufo-Addo as the legitimate president of the Republic of Ghana until all the issues surrounding his flawed election are satisfactorily resolved.
Joining me via Zoom is Dr. Kojo Asante, who is Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at CDD Ghana, for more on what happened in Parliament on the 6th and 7th. Doc, many thanks for your time. Many have condemned the behavior of parliamentarians during the inauguration of the 8th Parliament. Interestingly, both sides of the House are now playing blame games as to who started first. But should this be the conduct of parliamentarians? Hello, Dr. Kojo Asante. You're on Joynews Prime. All right, we're having challenges with his audio. We'll try and fix it and bring back that interview. But let's stick with Parliament, because the NPP MP for Tafo, Vincent Eko Esifua, is accusing the Clerk of the House, Cyril Nsia, of failing to deal with the disturbances right from the beginning. He believes the Clerk's lack of firmness allowed the situation to denigrate.
Well, the background to that is the failure of the Clerk to be firm on the interpretation of the standing orders of Parliament, and, if you like, the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. I say this because the Clerk of Parliament interpreted Article 105 of the 1992 Constitution, which sought to, if you like, throw more light on the fact that we should leave the responsibility to the member of Parliament who has been alleged, or, if you like, accused of holding dual citizenship, and for that matter cannot be recognized by the 8th Parliament. Now, the Clerk indicated that, as per the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, that's Article 105, we should leave him to decide whether he wants to vote or otherwise. If he votes and later on he finds himself culpable with the law, then the law will deal with it. The problem I have with that is that I do not see why, if that room has been given to the Member of Parliament, that is James Kwesi, we, the members of Parliament, cannot have the same responsibility to say that even though the Constitution says that we should vote secretly, we can decide to also vote and show it to our hips as part of the rules and regulations of our caucus.
Forgive me, how are those two in any way connected?
Because what is going to be the resultant effect of we breaching the standing orders of Parliament and the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, saying that members of Parliament are supposed to be voting secretly?
Mr. Asifua, correct me if I'm wrong, but Parliament is a master of its own rules, and whomever sits in the chair is the one who determines what the rules are. So if the person in the chair says that in instance A, this individual will be left to make his own, decide his own destiny, but in instance B, do not show your ballot, the same person whose authority is respected in instance A should have his authority respected in instance B.
The decision of the High Court was clear, was unambiguous. I am saying this because the High Court indicated clearly that James Kwesi cannot be holding himself as a member of Parliament and cannot also be sworn into Parliament because he has been injected by the High Court.
Former Deputy Minister of Justice and Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayeni is also demanding the immediate arrest and prosecution of the Tama West MP Carlos Ahenkra, who was captured on live TV making away with ballot papers during the election of the Speaker of Parliament, an act that has been widely condemned. He has since issued a statement apologizing for his actions. Speaking on the Super Morning Show, Dominic Ayeni, who is also MP for Bolga East, said if he was still the Deputy Attorney General, Carlos Ahenkra would have been prosecuted for his conduct.
Would be the fact that they have, constitutional immunity, as Honorable Jinapo has pointed out. But then I think, Kojo, you are the one who asked a very poignant question about if somebody, or is it Winston, if some tried to distinguish between what our members did and what his side did. the most famous being the snatching of the ballot papers. Okay.
That was not done in protection of the Constitution.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Certainly not.
Why not?
It was designed to disrupt.
That was a very good run, you know.
No, no, that was designed to disrupt the process of voting, and you can say that was an assault on the integrity of the voting process.
Meanwhile, Dean of the UPSA Law School, Dr. Ernest Kofi Abochi, says though the rules governing public elections may not apply, Parliament itself can administer some punishment for MPs who misconduct themselves.
This is a specialized election. It's an election that also happened within Parliament. So I am a bit skeptical about the rules governing elections being applied generally to this. But Parliament is a master of its own procedure, as they say, and Parliament can decide to administer some penalty. It's a member of Parliament. There are disciplinary issues. There are disciplinary rules in Parliament. There are ethics that regulates members of Parliament's behavior. So I am confident that should Parliament look within its own internal rules of discipline, there's something that can be done in respect of this member. But I doubt in terms of the general rules on elections in Ghana, because those affect public elections, and this is by no way a public election. It's an in-chamber election meant only for members of Parliament. I'm not qualified to partake in that election, so to speak. But in terms of whether we've moved on, again, it's up to the leadership of Parliament. And I get the sense that Parliament itself may have moved past this, particularly because also of the outcome, if you ask me. I think the outcome of the election of the Speaker may invariably have dampened any anger or angst or anxiety on the part of the NDC. It appears to have, the outcome appears to have supported some compromise.
MP for Bimbilla constituency and former Defense Minister Dominic Nitewo has meanwhile rejected claims he invited the military into the Chamber of Parliament, though the soldiers were seen on live TV making their way into the chamber. Mr. Nitewo suggested they may have come in at the instance of the state security. Let's now speak with Dr. Kojo Asante, who is Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at CDD Ghana. Doc, many have condemned the behavior of parliamentarians during the inauguration of the 8th Parliament. Now, you've also heard the blame side, the blame coming from both sides as to who started first and who needed to respond. But should this be the conduct of parliamentarians?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. Good evening to your viewers. Sorry about the audio. No, I think it was, to say the least, appalling and on and on. At some point, it was, extremely embarrassing. There's so many issues that whole event has raised, for us that we need to reflect on. But a lot of people did not cover themselves in glory. And this will be on YouTube for many years to come. And their children will see some of the terrible behavior that, they engaged in as they try to resolve this stuff. And really, one would say that at least there should have been, many days before we even got to this point, there should have been a real serious effort between both parties to try to resolve some of the issues before coming, to this day, because everybody knew that there was a lot of acrimony, there was a lot of mistrust around this issue, and there were all these attempts by both parties to try to, weaken one side or the other to affect the, the numbers for the election of the Speaker. So, that kind of all kinds of altercations right in front of the whole world, and it doesn't seem to be that there was any real attempt to try to negotiate and build consensus before coming to this point. And now we were left with this process. Fortunately, we were able to at least find a compromise. But a lot of damage has been done, and I mean the condemnations go on. But for me, I worry now more even about going forward, particularly because we were hoping that the NDC would, build on that. It seems like everybody have returned to their positions, and they are going to continue this type of acrimonious behavior into this parliament. And if that is going to be the case, it's Ghanaians that will suffer because no business will be done.
Doc, many have,
in parliament.
The clerk to parliament has also been blamed for not being firm, the reason the situation degenerated. You agree?
I completely disagree, and I've disagreed with colleagues privately, because I think that, they forget that in a lot of this, particularly in Parliament, it's not just about the law. It's also about, the leadership of Parliament working together. So if the leaders go behind closed doors on a particular ruling, and based on the ruling of the clerk, they are able to find a compromise and come back and work with that compromise. I mean, you can't blame the clerk. And, this is the first time. Often, I don't know if you recall any time, in our fourth parliament where a clerk was put in this kind of position to actually interpret certain parts of the standing order. The design of this particular process, which is the election, it's a pretty straightforward matter. Often you get a communique from the Electoral Commission listing the numbers, the people who are eligible, and basically you just go ahead to vote. But of course, these late challenges from at the courts, some coming as late as 5 p.m. And the clerk is supposed to do this interpretation, which the Constitution did not envisage. Right? So when people say, I know Mr. Sirosia very well, he's a very calm person, he's seen it all. So it's not a matter of firmness as in shouting. Are people suggesting that he should be ordering marshals to remove leaders if they didn't sit down or they were misbehaving? It doesn't work like that in Parliament. So he tried his best within the scenario to work with the leaders, allow them as much latitude to express themselves so that they can find a compromise. And then, because if the speaker was there, basically the speaker will carry the will of members, right? And often they work together to make sure that they can all reach a compromise. So I want to put the blame on the clerk. I think the blame has to go to the leaders of the two parties who set themselves up for this, very disgraceful act. And for me, the key is, how do you move forward? Because it looks like, as I said, they've returned to their posture of everybody standing their ground and refusing to compromise. But that is not going to help them. And if it doesn't help them, it doesn't help us.
The highest disappointment for many, though, was the invasion of armed military officers into the chamber. What do you make of this scenario?
I think for me, it was the low point of that whole incident. I mean, that picture, and I've already seen international media pick on that, which I think unfairly, but they pick on that, which the pictures just didn't. I mean, military officers entering Parliament is just not, it's not done, and it's people don't appreciate the democratic structures, and that even there are some parliaments where people are throwing chairs and so on. That's why you have marshals of Parliament. They are there to secure. And ensure that people don't injure themselves or anything like that. If the marshals are overwhelmed or feel that they need more people, that's a different, scenario. They should be in control at all times. All right. So that's really, I think, was unfortunate. But it did sort of reflect some of the excessive use of of military in the last couple of years, and I think we really need to examine that because it's not helpful for the military. I mean, they will come and do their job, but really, it's not helpful, you know. But I mean, the whole thing I said was really disgraceful, and people just, you know, completely lost it. I mean, this is right before the whole world, and they lost it. They couldn't hold their temper. But a lot of this could have been avoided if there was a lot of, you know, pre-legislative discussions and engagement, even in spite of the fact that people had just come out of elections, and this was what statesmanship would have demanded, that they knew that they needed to talk in spite of their different positions. So it still remains the same.
I'm
if
grateful
they don't
for
talk,
your time. Dr. Kojo Asante is Director of Advocacy of Policy Engagement at CDD Ghana. Parliament, meanwhile, says it will want to put behind it the violence that characterized Thursday's voting for speaking and forge ahead with a more united front. In a statement issued Friday, Director of Public Affairs, Kate Addo, also denied claims some of its staff had wanted to compromise the election. Joseph Opoku Gakpo joins me with more via Zoom. Gakpo, what does the statement say about Parliament uniting? Or try and bring back Opoku Gakpo to tell us more on the statement coming from Parliament. Gakpo is back, I'm told. Gakpo, tell us more on this statement issued by Parliament.
There's a lot. So
Opoku Gakpo,
the statement says Parliament wishes to acknowledge the event that characterized the inauguration, and that the Parliament would want to state that while most of the actions were regrettable, Parliament is working in a more focused manner and unifying the membership to promote the best parliamentary practices and good governance. And then it goes on to say that looking at the situation at hand, going forward, Parliament is assuring all citizens that they will be dedicated in assisting the speakership and getting the necessary work that needs to be done in the House.
What does the statement say about claims that a marshal attempted stuffing the ballot box?
A large part of the statement is dedicated to that. The statement says that Parliament would want to react to claims that one of its staff actually tried to stuff the ballot box with papers. But that looking at the very nature of the voting system, that's impossible because only 275 MPs, and that was the maximum number of ballot papers that could have gone in. And that Parliament would like to put on record that the officer, who is the Deputy Marshal, was stationed at a particular spot in the chamber to protect the ballot box, and that as things actually went out of hand, he reached for his taser, which was hanging behind his belt to use in protecting the ballot, and that he picked that taser and even used it on one of the MPs to prevent a situation where the ballot box was being taken. And so the claim that there was the effort to start the ballot is out of place, and that the Marshal in Parliament actually has staff whose duty is to maintain peace and order in the House, and that doing anything contrary will be at variance with their work. And so Parliament is completely denying that specific claim.
Joseph Opoku Gakpo, with a statement issued by Parliament after everything that happened on the 9th of 6th January. Now, President Akufo-Addo has paid glowing tribute to his wife and children, the Vice President and appointees he worked with during the first term of his presidency for their support and encouragement, which he says saw him through very trying times. At a Thanksgiving service at Chebi, where he hails from, the president said the wise counsel and guidance helped him in governing the nation and the fulfillment of promises made to the electorate. The president on Thursday took another oath for his second term, second and final term. Nana Akufo-Addo says he remains optimistic the country will move in the right direction, despite the petition filed by his main opponent in the last election, John Mahama, challenging his legitimacy.
Rebecca Victoria Okako. Then I say, shut up on me who buying pa. No, name nana nom. One na. Se niema nko ya teach me chichire me re. I also share me crying. Seven concomanim. Nyankopon di kunibie be mafa. Tede menya kwen. Ese me sheda dana se papa. Then I say, yeah, cancel so no. Minuanom titiri Edward. Ani ahe nananom Ken, Gabi. Wonyina se me sheda so dan woni ase papa. Emo a woni boa me no. Nye nyina na metumi aka. Na manyawo aka mi gyina baabi a mi je mi do ana sese. Wokɔ akɔyɛ adwuma bi na uni aboafo a wɔde wɔnimdie na wɔn nso so wɔ akukuduro a wotumi yɛ adwuma no na pasɛ duma Nyankopɔn adom me branch ɔno yɛ wo no wɔ wale a wobɛnya osoro fa no tamale ɛhyehyɛ ma yɛ kɔnhyiaeɛ wɔba bɛyɛ vice president of the republic Muhammadu Bawumia Mo and in the year of Samira Nyakwa and in La Seca Senso Amon Gidi Amonia wo mimui Ahoden bia ne nyanse bia wo mafa no so no me de baba ye adwuma na
Dochehino Sajifam Waitio for Repenning said the country is blessed to have Nana Akufo-Addo as president. According to him, the government achievements in the first term gives him assurance of greater times ahead for the country.
3 years ago, in this same town, this little modern ancient town, Chebi, full of political timber and intellectual capital, a place that President Kufuor called the Mecca of Ghana's politics. In that speech that I gave, I told my president, who initially is my grandson, that the journey has just begun. None of us, including himself, knew where the journey was going to end. But he was willing to undertake that journey anyway. Willing to take it because of an unyielding faith. And the mantra he went the whole country for several years, so eloquently articulated, the battle is the Lord's. We relied on that, and the journey began. In that journey, we knew there were going to be obstacles. There were going to be challenges. But we're willing to go because the man the people of Ghana had elected had great courage to take that journey. We had to overcome fear and doubt. We needed to defeat the enemies of progress. We had to set aside the naysayers and forge on with the program that he had. So we got here. And the people of Ghana appreciate what this leader had done. In this time, we don't know, but he has an experience to move forward.
And coming up in business, cheaper air tickets expected mid-year subject to COVID-19 mitigation.
Let's get back to their pre-pandemic schedules, or at least begin to grow back into that. There's going to be a lot of empty seats. The demand is not going to recover until the supply is put into the market.
Also coming up, an MPP MP who was accused of betraying the cause of the party during the election of Speaker has denied the accusation. There is more in business when Charles Aite comes your way shortly.
Hello, good evening. It's time for business. I'm Charles Aite. Ghana's aviation space is ready to brace the challenges and opportunities of travel in 2021. Already, the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority has revealed that it has lost nearly 95% of its revenue income due to the novel coronavirus inflicted ban on foreign travels. Now we have a vaccine, flights have resumed amid high expectations for this year. Let's pull up for you the top 5 trends in air travel in 2021 as sourced by the aviation expert Shawn Mendes. He says, first of all, we're going to be expecting biosecurity is going to be here to stay. The second being that domestic and regional travel will see a boost. Also, self-service technology will become more prevalent, and cheaper travel options as well as catering is on the way out as people focus more on the need for sanitary travel. So we could see the impact of COVID-19 in the future of air travels in this particular list of the top 5 trends in air travel. Let's now listen to Shawn Mendes, who has been explaining to us the reasons why he believes there could be a dip in charges of air travel. He spoke to me earlier on the marketplace.
Biosecurity is the current buzzword, and I think, it's already becoming pretty much a standard when you are traveling. You think of getting your air ticket, you think of getting your passport, your visa, and now you're thinking of getting your COVID test or your vaccination proof or whatever other biosecurity protocols are going to become required for international travel, and this will vary across different countries around the world. So I think that is a trend that is going to be here definitely for not just 2021, but beyond that. And, it's not something that may seem as a huge change for people in Africa, where we've been used to traveling with yellow fever cards and things as such. But I think on a more global basis, this biosecurity documentation and the proof of biosecurity is going to become a integral part of the travel experience. Interesting. Domestic and regional travel to see a boost. Well, I think, we've already seen this. Domestic travel is a lot easier. Regional travel, if you're just going from Nigeria to Ghana, for example, is a lot simpler right now for people to travel closer to home within their home countries or neighboring countries than it is to be traveling long haul. If you're right now, a lot of the traditional tourist markets, such as Europe and North America, are still essentially closed to international visitors, while markets close to home, no matter which country you're in, most countries are open to domestic travel, and there's plenty of opportunities for people to, people in Ghana to explore the north, to explore Takoradi, to explore all sorts of things, and I think, domestic and regional air transport will get a boost from that. Are we going to be expecting some new entrants? I think there's always going to be the potential for new entrants where a good opportunity exists. I know a lot of people are talking about entering the market. The business case definitely exists for people to do well in airlines in Ghana in the near future. It's how well people can execute on that. Great. Let's now end on this very good note. Cheaper travel options. We know AFTA is here. Briefly, if you could explain to us what you mean by cheaper travel options for air travelers. Well, I think the key to this is when airlines get back to their pre-pandemic schedules, or at least begin to grow back into that, there's going to be a lot of empty seats. The demand is not going to recover until the supply is put into the market. So the people who move first, those who are willing to travel as soon as borders begin to open and so forth, will have the ability to take advantage of some very good deals that undoubtedly are going to be out there. We've seen Emirates do this already with offering hotel stays and stuff for visitors to Dubai, and I think you'll see this with a lot of airlines, a lot of governments who will incentivize travel by reducing fares, by reducing taxes, and getting people back and moving again. So if you're ready to move, there's some very good deals coming to you probably in the middle of 2021. Great. Good news there for air travelers this year. Away from that, a physician assistant from Sunyani, Owusu Achiam, has won himself 20,000 cedis from the Star 787 Hash lottery. There's more in this report.
Owusu Achiaum, a physician assistant who resides in Sunyani, has emerged the winner of 20,000 cedis from 787 lottery after staking for the 8th time. He becomes the 53rd unique jackpot winner. As the money was presented to him in the form of check, this is what he had to say.
But still now me try na me din kakra sa temi di omudi na sana me sika no me di na me di bi dada me di so time na me di na o mesi asen this kana mame inti na me di omudi inti we so in a surprise me di omudi very omo ye no carry di omudi no carry ankasa me di omudi and who 87 hash oh star 787 hash there. I mean, no cranny, but a trobia any baby, I'm going to Umpobia and Sunny baby. I'm here, Jumakua, or more Juma D, Bibia than Aquam, or Basan on Mr. Joe. Na Bibia than Aquam, Bibia than Aquam, Intimeka say, Mesho be and crying, say, and so and ferry and Cassa, we say, and in some month for Baba Dada and Nipa P, and so we know at that there be any Bibia than Aquam.
Richard Akotobanfo, head of customer experience, also had this to say.
Year 2020, Mijidi say, Oshayem Abribia, who said Nipadodo na discovery. Ebidia di 920,000 Ghana cedis. Year this Saturday, be oh, one could sell Baba millionaire. A scared us so 1,500,000 Ghana cedis. Ebet my usika, the only sub star 787 hash with only 5 Ghana cedis. So be say undi bebre dia, bo bebre now so nya bebre ho akonya now so di kese pa. Star 787 hash there, no kre payment ya prompt. Oba ye nya okona bra, ye nya o ye chase kanimuni ama obina, ye di bia ma later. There be ye ma usika nyina we di pepepe. Inti sa o peloto aboa, o pe game aboa ye no kre dia. And one star 787 hash. O trending. For phone, ne dial star 787 hash. Now so bo BCCR.
And that's it by way of business. We're back after 8 as we tell you how you can make some gains from YouTube. Sport is up next in the meantime with Gary L. Smith this day.
Thank you for staying with us on Joynews Prime. I'm Gary L. Smith with the sport. And it's currently 84 minutes in the game between Legon Cities as they restart the Ghana Premier League again. They are playing Wafa as we speak at the stadium. This was their starting lineup. And their winger, Jonah Tukwe, is optimistic that his club will secure a win in this game as his team are playing at the Accra Sports Stadium. Let's hear from him, and then I'll give you the current score right now.
We've played a lot of games. We've not had a win. I think every game that we play, when you are going into the game, what you put in mind is that you have to take the maximum points. But I think we are praying that Friday will come so that you had our very first 3 points. For me, there's no pressure on me, but it's very bad because playing, I think, a whole lot of matches without scoring from an open play is very bad as a player to me, and the whole team as well. I think it will be very good for us because when you check on the league log where we are bottom down there, and I think we need to get this maximum 3 points so that it will push our morale for our next games.
Well, Legon Cities are currently in action, and courtesy of a penalty, they are leading by a goal to nil with about 84 minutes gone. The penalty was converted by Joseph Ejay. Kujuenim, the starlet, was brought down, and what it means is that Legon Cities may be looking to break their long duck and become yet another team in the Ghana Premier League to secure. We remember before this game, they were the only team among all the others who had not won yet in the Ghana Premier League. Moving on to another giant of the league, Asante Kotoko are heading to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Why? To challenge the decision by CAF to eliminate them from the CAF Champions League after coronavirus drama forced their game against Al Hilal to be called off. The Porcupine Warriors believe that their hosts, Al Hilal, produced false COVID test results to weaken the team ahead of the second leg encounter in Omdurman
Asante Kotoko are heading to the Court of Arbitration for Sport to challenge their elimination from the CAF Champions League. The Porcupine Warriors were booted out of the competition without playing the second leg of the first round fixture against Al Hilal in Sudan after the match was called off. Al Hilal were awarded a 2-0 victory following disagreements over COVID-19 cases prior to kickoff. Kotoko had not raised enough players for the encounter after reports that a couple of their players had tested positive for the virus. Kotoko had traveled to Sudan with 22 players, while CAF rules dictates that a team needs to have at least 15 players for the game to start. However, Kotoko claim they have substantial evidence that the COVID-19 results supervised by the host club are questionable. We can now hear from the acting communications director of Asante Kotoko, David Obenyakun.
Actually, what happened was that as part of CAF processes to allow us to play a CAF Champions League match, we were supposed to conduct COVID-19 test. So the test was conducted yesterday in the evening before the players had their dinner. The results was expected today, but one member of the Al Hilal team came to the hotel and decided to stop us from going to the match because he said that he had access to our results, and from the test of our results, we cannot raise a team to play the match. Mind you, we are supposed to have at least 15 players who are qualified in order to play the match. Right. But we hesitated and still proceeded to the venue, and we received our result. Unfortunately, the results came out. We went through the result, and it was clear that the result has been tampered with.
So, based on that, Kotoko were demoted to the CAF Confederations Cup, and in that competition, the draw for the next stage, the playoff, was done today. Kotoko were drawn with three-time Champions League winners, Etan Setif of Algeria. Now, they are scheduled to be playing their first leg on Valentine's Day, 14th February. Now, this is what we know about Etan Setif in this season of the Algerian League. They are currently unbeaten after 6 games. They are also top of the league as well, and they are going to be facing the Porcupine Warriors as well. And as you know, Kotoko's history with Algerian teams and North African teams in general, it's not pretty, but they are hoping to do something special on Valentine's Day. The second leg of that game will be on the 21st of February. I'm Gary Al Smith, and that's the sport. Thank you for your time.
Welcome to Joynews Prime. Now, speculations have been rife about why the New Patriotic Party's nominee for Speaker did not win Thursday election in Parliament, with many suggesting the defeat was caused by a dissenting NPP MP. Ebuakwa South MP Samuel Atachia has indicated the party will fish out and punish the MP who dissented. A video with running commentary that has gone viral on social media is accusing MP for Hemang Lower Denchira, Bryce Rekobrobi, of being the dissenting MP, as he could be seen going straight to drop his ballot in the box without going into the voting booth. He has, however, denied this. Mr. Rekobrobi says, though he didn't use the voting booth, he ticketed the ballot for Professor Michael Quay.
It is unfortunate, and the video that I have seen purporting to suggest that I didn't cast my vote is palpably false. You can see that in the live video, which I have also had, suggests that I took my ballot paper, voted, and then on my way straight away into the ballot box. In the process, one or two colleagues of mine were evidence to the fact that I voted. That video suggesting that I didn't vote falls flat. That accusation falls flat because there was no vote whatsoever out of the 275 that was blank. All votes were validly voted, on.
One of the key points is that you didn't use the booth and you walked rightly up there after you picked up your ballot paper. So at what point did the voting happen, as you are insisting you did?
When I picked my ballot paper from the lady who issued it to me, immediately I picked the pen from Honorable Henry Scott's table and then ticked it while on my way to vote. It is not as if we were going for an ink to, thumbprint or something. This was a pen matter. You get a pen, you grab one, and you vote. And at the time I was voting, I was the 273rd person. So the voting was virtually over. So I didn't even see the need to go in while I could just do it on my way to putting that in the box.
And if I get it clearly, the name was on it already, as in the two names were on the paper already.
The two names were on Professor Michael Quay, who was the first one, and the other one. And for me, Professor Okwe has been my leader for the last 4 years. He's been the speaker. I've not had any problems with him whatsoever. So what will happen, or what will motivate me to go and vote against the president nominee who has actually, the president who has actually also nominated me? What will make me go and vote for somebody else? It doesn't make sense.
Are you worried some of these divisions may end up causing cracks within the NPP as a party? You know, all these issues coming up, some of you being accused of being the source of the spoiled ballots, and even your party not being able to hold together to get Professor Okwe nominated.
Well, I think that we must all put this behind us and move on. Pointing fingers and at each other will not be too good. I think that what has happened isn't good generally for us as a party, but we need to move on. And for me, in my case, because my colleagues saw me do what we expected of an MPP member, I am vindicated. But I think that we must move on. We must bring everybody on board as quickly as possible to make sure that what we have ahead of us is done collectively than dividing our ranks.
President Akufo-Addo Friday morning was at the French embassy in Accra, where he commissioned the newly constructed Chancery building. The new facility, which was started in 2017, replaces the previous building adjacent to Jubilee House. The state under then President Akufo gave the French government a new site for the embassy following concerns the previous facility was too close to the seat of government. In what marked his first public outing after being sworn in for his second term, President Akufo-Addo acknowledged Ghana's growing cordial relations with France, attributing it to a shared vision and belief of both countries in democracy, human rights, and the rule of law.
Indeed, the people of Ghana are appreciative of the support extended to us by France in the sectors of agriculture, rural and urban development, local government administration, education, transport, water and sanitation, amongst other sectors. When the pandemic of COVID-19 struck, France was one of the countries which demonstrated solidarity with Ghana through the launch of the 1.2 billion euro Joint Health Initiative and the donation of RNA extraction kits to the Noguchi Memorial Institute, which has contributed significantly to the efficient testing regime rolled out by government. I'm hopeful that Ghana and France will continually search for ways to cooperate. I have no doubt that together our two countries can forge an even stronger partnership for cooperation for the mutual benefit of our two peoples. Ghana stands ready to renew and deepen her relations with France for the prosperity and progress of our two buildings. And the opening of La Chancellerie Française d'Accra should be a spring in the step of our relations. Monsieur le ministre, je vous prie de bien vouloir exprimer à son Excellence, Monsieur Emmanuel Macron, Président de la République française, mes meilleurs vœux à lui et au peuple français pour le nouvel an, et de lui assurer que si la pandémie permettra, je vais honorer l'aimable invitation qu'il m'a accordée pour participer à Paris dans le mois de mai.
Former Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko says President Akufo-Addo does not owe him any explanation for sacking him over 2 years ago. Mr. Agyarko was kicked out over his handling of the controversial Ameri deal first signed by the Mahama administration. The revised deal he brokered was widely criticized when it emerged that it was not any better than the former. Speaking with Kojo Yangsing at the inauguration of the President Akufo-Addo Thursday, Mr. Agyarko explained he remains a committed member of the NPP.
Why did he fire you?
You have to ask him.
Did he give you a reason?
You have to ask him.
Did he give you a reason?
You have to ask him. Look, reasons are reasons. What you do is that you go to the appointing authority and ask, why have you fired somebody? You will get a more tangible reason, a more practical reason. But to ask the person who has been fired, why? Look, he's the president. He's the ultimate appointing authority. He does not need to give anybody a reason why you're fired.
But did he give you a reason?
He has not. Look, I said, if you want a good answer to your question, then you go to the appointing authority, not me.
Did you do that? Did you go to the appointing authority and ask?
You are the one who is interested.
Oh, you were not interested in why you were fired?
Look, at the end of the day, there is a tree proverb. The president owes me no explanation. And I want you to understand that principle. He owes me no explanation as to why he will fire somebody or make changes.
So he didn't give you an explanation?
I do not, he does not owe me an explanation.
Did you get one anyway?
I do not expect, look, you are a smart journalist. I can see you're a smart journalist. And you want to couch words into my mouth.
Not at all. I'd rather you...
I will not give you that opportunity. I will not give you that opportunity. All I will say is that if you want a reason, you go to the person who has the appointing authority. If you are interested. I am not interested in telling you the private conversations I've had with a president. I'm not interested. But if you are interested in knowing, then I ask you to go to the appointing authority who appointed me and in his own power asked me to leave the job. If you are interested, that's where you go to.
Mr. Agyarko will not confirm or deny if he is being considered for a ministerial appointment.
It is not within my province to determine, because I'm not an appointing authority. So I cannot speak to that.
If the president calls on you?
Hypothetical.
Yes. Would you?
Hypothetical.
So what is your hypothetical answer?
Well, I don't give hypothetical answers.
So it's not something you've considered?
I said it's hypothetical. Look, I am not the appointing authority. I have not spoken to the president on any such matters. I have not discussed any of such matters with him. So it is not within my province to determine, and it is not within my province to speculate. I don't like speculation.
Okay, let's talk about what is tangible. Have you had any conversations, discussions with the president since you were fired?
No, since I told you that, we have not had any such discussions.
No, I mean on any other topic.
No, we are friends. I have been friends. I have known the president since 1976. And we've been very close friends for the past 15 years. So we have our normal hello, things like that. But we haven't sat down to have a conversation. Things have their own time. Things come in their own time. And I am not the type to press matters, and I will allow time to make its own arrangements for those conversations.
Former Energy Minister Boache Jako, Deputy Chief Whip of the NPP side of Parliament, Habib Idris, has condemned what he describes as a selective call for a probe by the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu-Nketia, arguing MPs on the NDC side committed more offences compared to their NPP colleagues. He has also hinted his party is watching closely what the NDC will do to Muntaka, Mubarak and the other members on the NDC side before they take actions against Carlos Ahinkra. He spoke exclusively to my colleague Latif Idris moments ago in Parliament.
I would term it as a 4-point mistakes and crimes that were created in Parliament. 4 points. You know, with all honesty and sincerity, we're not having a birthday party. This was a house represented by members of Parliament elect. And if you are not a member of Parliament elect, you are not welcome there. So for the High Court making an injunction, you shouldn't hold yourself aside. You were not supposed to be sworn. So that means that you are not welcome into the house. Then the second incident that happened was when voting was about to start and when the first person, that's the member of Parliament for Shama, was called to come and cast his vote. After casting his ballot, we could see Honorable Muntaka taking the ballot box to run away. That is an electoral offense. It is a crime. And others have been jailed in this even 2020 election for snatching ballot boxes. And he did that in Parliament for the whole world to see. So the third incident that happened that we are all ashamed about is when...
I'm not done with you on that score yet. My question is, what form was it supposed to take? We had the clerk reading out and saying this is supposed to be a secret ballot. And Muntaka says that's what he was protecting. He was protecting your own laid down guidance as far as that particular voting was concerned, in the interest of you and all the other members of Parliament.
Granted, Muntaka is not the one who's supposed to protect the privacy of the electoral process. He himself is a delegate to that election. He was from the other side. We were also on the other side. And for that matter, the Clerk of Parliament have marshal, they have workers of Parliament. They're supposed to make sure that the security of the ballot is protected. It is not Honorable Muntaka, who is the whip of the NDC caucus, who's supposed to ensure that that happened. That was not his job. And he was not invited to do that. That's number two. And the third time was when actually we were able to bring sanity into the whole issue, and voting was about to start again when the first, second and the third person voted. The fourth person who was going to cast the vote, the same incident happened again, and Muntaka blew alarm. We could see the member of Parliament for Yape Kushogu, Honorable Abu Jinapo, kicking the ballot box, and other members of the NDC caucus destroying the NDC, the Electoral Commission planted podium where we were supposed to take our vote. That is also wrong, and it is also a crime against the electoral process. And the fourth incident that happened was Honorable Carlos Ahinkra, a member of Parliament for Tama, was also snatching the ballot papers to run away. They are all wrong, granted, but it was something that informed the action and the action of the fourth incident. If Muntaka didn't snatch the ballot box in the first place and snatch it to the second place, Honorable Carlos Ahinkra wouldn't have the guts to be able to see that he can also snatch a ballot paper and walk away.
Muntaka, in essence, what I'm saying is he encouraged Carlos to embark on his...
Perfectly right. All what they all did is wrong, it's unparliamentary, and it doesn't actually bring beauty to our democracy. The whole world was watching us. They were watching us as elected members of Parliament to comport ourselves. They were...
Are you working out to fish out those who snitched on the voting for speakership as a party? And before you answer that, were you thrown off by that?
Not in
leadership. Were you thrown off?
No, at leadership, at the end of the day, when incidents like this happen, it's election. And when this kind of things happen in election, you need to be able to sit down. We are in consultation. We are talking to each other. We still have 4 years, like I said, to take serious decisions in the House. And we are in the majority, in a very comfortable majority. If people say that Ghana, we are in a hung parliament, we are not...
describe this as comfortable majority?
Yeah, I would say comfortable, because comfortable majority is majority. It doesn't matter the number.
Scores of freshers at the University of Ghana and their parents were stranded on the school's campus Friday after failing to secure accommodation ahead of reopening. The students, some of whom arrived as early as 5 a.m., are accusing the university management of hoarding the rooms. thereby worsening the age-old accommodation problem in the school. Meanwhile, an intended demonstration to demand the university backs down on its decision to roll out a double-track system for this academic year was cancelled. My colleague Kwekwa Sante was on campus and has come through with this report.
The University of Ghana is set to reopen for the upcoming academic year on Monday, when level 100s and level 400s will be coming within the week to start the academic year. This is because of the coronavirus and the kind of challenges that is associated with gathering a number of people on campus. And so the University of Ghana is dividing the student body into two. The first batch will come and then the second batch will follow. But one problem that the University of Ghana faces each and every academic year is the problem of providing enough beds for all of its students. This year, the problem has not gone away. A number of students who have been admitted have been complaining that although they applied to the university through the online system and had accommodation, they've still not been able to get their beds because they are told they've lost their bed, even though they've been able to go ahead to pay their fees. So that challenge has not been fixed by the university management. Most of them who converged on the campus this morning were told by Legon Hall management, where much of that problem has been happening, that it was because of a technical challenge and that they uploaded some beds onto the online system more than once. And so they will try and fix it. But the problem is most of these students will not have this challenge of them fixed. They would have to rely and resort to some of the private hostels, which fees is way higher than the traditional halls. And so it's left to be seen what will be done as the university battles with these perennial accommodation challenges that it's been facing every year. Some of these affected students and guardians who came to the University of Ghana campus to have these challenges resolved spoke to Joynews.
Yeah, I selected a room for my brother, my junior brother, in Legon Hall. The room number was G26. And later in the afternoon, we received a message from the university that the room is not valid, like we can't have access to the room. But already the mom have already paid for the room fees. They gave us 24-hour ultimatum to pay for the room. But we paid and we received that message that we can't access the room.
Okay, for us, we got here as early as 5 a.m. We didn't have any information that the accommodation portal was open. For us, we came here to make inquiries, only to be told they opened the portal around 12 a.m., which means they are preventing other people from getting access to the accommodation. So those who were able to get to the portal right now, they said there is a problem. They've gotten an issue, so they should hold on. It is being rectified. That is why we are all sitting down, waiting for the in charge.
So the thing is, they opened the residential link. I booked for my sister, and then she had a room in Legon Hall L6, and then everything was cool. So she was trying to pay at the bank, it wasn't going through. She came back later, and then we used the UG Pay method, and then the payment went through. Later, they sent a message that the room was not supposed to be selectable, and a whole lot. And so we decided, since yesterday was a holiday, we decided to come today to check up on all what is happening and all that. And
meanwhile, a planned demonstration by a group of students of the university calling themselves Concerned Students of the University of Ghana was cancelled after the Vice Chancellor, Professor Ebenezer Odro-Wusu, met student leaders. These students are aggrieved by the university's decision to roll out a double-track system for the upcoming academic year to limit the risk of a potential spread of the coronavirus disease. Some of these students who were in the meeting spoke with us.
The issues that the SRC proposed was that they needed an extension of 3 weeks to be added to the 9 weeks that was proposed. Yes. So actually, I am part of the people who were against the 6 weeks. So I wanted to know what was going on and then communicate to my people whether to continue with the demonstration or not.
Michael Papani is a reporter with campus-based Radio Universe. He was in a meeting with the Vice Chancellor.
The resolution is for them to get additional 3 weeks to submit their courses. So in an instance, maybe you've been given an assignment within the 6 weeks to submit. You've been given additional 3 weeks to finish it up so that you don't have a lot of pressure on you, so that you can also have time to focus on the other subjects that you have. Having to do a minimum of 5 courses even here at the university are going to be 15 credit hours. Meeting at least twice a week or once a week. It's not an easy thing. So management thought it wise that, well, then it should be the resolution.
Authorities in some tertiary institutions say they will intensify the enforcement of COVID-19 protocols as schools begin to reopen after the long coronavirus break. Speaking during a government and Zoom line disinfection exercise of some tertiary institutions in the Greater Accra and Eastern regions, Vice Chancellor of the Koforidua Technical University, Professor David Esuman, stated the school security personnel will ensure the wearing of face masks as seating arrangements in the various classrooms have been changed to allow for social distancing. There is more in this report.
All tertiary educational institutions across the country are expected to be disinfected before reopening. Different teams are engaged in the exercise across all of Ghana's regions. Here is Director of Communications and Corporate Affairs of Zoom Lion, Emma Achiabuache.
The chemical we are using is chlorine-based, and it is approved by science. And it is the same chemical we used the previous year, which brought Ghana to the point where we've been recognized as one of the countries that have managed this pandemic or managed the control of the virus properly. So we are still doing the same thing that we know how to do best. They should do well to ensure that there is social distancing. Whichever way they can get to do that. For the private schools, I know that some of them it will be difficult, but they should find ways and means of doing that. Other than that, it will not inure to our benefit. They should do social distancing. So your schools would have been disinfected by the time you come, and be assured that as at the time you come, the place is cleared of any bacteria or virus.
The Ashesi University campus, library, hostel, facilities, administration block, lecture halls and offices were all disinfected. Vice Chancellor of the Koforidua Technical University, Professor David Esuman, stated the school security personnel will ensure the wearing of face masks as seating arrangements. Lecture halls have also been changed to allow social distancing.
For now, we have done the new seating arrangement in the classrooms, taking into cognizance the distancing. And so every lecturer that go to class will have to ensure that they comply that in the classrooms. They should not allow them to cluster and converse. It is mandatory that each student puts on a nose mask whilst on campus. So sometimes we send the security men around. Sometimes me myself, I go around also to find out whether they are indeed wearing their nose mask. Sometimes these are students, they forget themselves. And we keep them on course. And so we are going to make sure that we strengthen that aspect of it so that we monitor them closely. At Koforidua Technical University, KTU, we have COVID committee headed by the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the university. And we have given them a rule. In fact, they have some guidelines as what to do.
The Koforidua Nursing and Midwifery College was also disinfected. Administrator Kwame Yani says the school has reduced the number of students in its classrooms and dormitories.
We've reduced the number of students in rooms. The class sizes are being reduced. Maybe even if we are thinking about dividing the classes. So in case maybe if 100 students in the class, we reduce it, so the teachers will go more instead of the students. The school itself, too, based on what happened the other time, we locked the school when the government, so students are not allowed to go out often.
In the Greater Accra region, Valley View and Central universities were amongst some tertiary educational institutions that were disinfected. Offices, lecture halls, administration block, dormitories, and the campus were disinfected. Tema Zone General Manager of Zoom Lion, Seth Okran, says the essence of the exercise was to make the university safe ahead of the resumption of classes.
I believe beyond the disinfection, there should be the observation of the protocols. We're talking of sanitizers, Veronica buckets with water, and then soap with the so that students can really wash their hands, and then the face masks. Because as for the disinfection, if we say we're going to do disinfection every day, it may be impossible, because it means that every day students must get out of lectures and stuff like that. But if these protocols are observed, wash your hands before entry into the lecture halls and other places, I believe we can reduce the virus on the various facilities.
Road crashes reduced by 19% in the Ashanti region during the Christmas and New Year festivities. That's according to statistics from the police MTTD, and says the region recorded 46 motor accidents between December 24 and January 1, compared with 65 in the same period in 2019. The period also saw a decline in the number of persons killed from 16 to 5. Parliamentary, however, reports the overall number of people killed in 2020 shot up.
Christmas and New Year festivities are often noted for reckless driving, but the season recorded a decline in accident cases in the Ashanti region. The police motto, Traffic and Transport Department, attributes the decline to increased police visibility on the roads, increased road traffic education, and enforcement of road traffic regulations. Ashanti Regional MTTD Commander Superintendent Emmanuel Duboahin is happy at the trend.
The total of cases that were recorded in 2019 for 31st and 1st were 23. This year we recorded 16. Total number of vehicles involved in those crashes last year, 2019, were 39. This year we have 28. Total number of persons killed last year, 31st and 1st, were 6. This year we had 1, and it goes on and on and on and on, and you could see that this period too we also had very good records compared to last year.
Mr. Adubuahin says the effective monitoring and enforcement of road traffic regulations paid off.
I can say that the public awareness on the statistics has increased comparatively to probably the previous years. So the publicity has been very, very, very influential in this aspect. Then again, whilst you give us the opportunity, we also sensitize, we do education. So the education this year, it was structured in such a way that we even started from the lorry parks, lorry terminals, mosques, even certain fan clubs were also visited, highways, and we had a very good collaboration with our road safety stakeholders too, like the National Road Safety Authority, DVLA, and transport unions. They also did very well. Then we cannot talk about the reduction without the strategic enforcement that were also deployed on the road. In fact, strategically, we looked at the accident-prone areas or the hot spots and deploy men to those areas to make sure that certain things that we have considered them as risk factors will be curtailed, or we will be able to contain them, such as drink driving, speeding. So we deploy these the speed radar gun on the highways. We also deploy the breathalyzers on certain areas where we also deploy, we set up some snap check point. You just come, you meet the police, we talk to you nicely, politely, and then we let you go through the process to find out whether or not you have taken any alcohol.
But despite the success chalked, the region saw 572 persons killed in road crashes throughout 2020. The figure represents a 26% increase of the 455 cases recorded in 2019. From Kumasi, for Joynews, Parliamentary reporting.
And back in the studio, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. We'll take a break. Charles Aite comes your way with the second part of business.
And you're welcome to Business. I'm Charles Aitib. Well, the year 2020 was a difficult one for many, especially business globally. With many black businesses in the United States struggling to stay afloat, Sandra Esinamafenu visited a Ghanaian courier service in the U.S., where she reports that unlike many businesses which are near collapse due to the pandemic, Rapid Aviation is rather making it big with a delivery service to Ghana in just 3 days. Here is more of her report from Atlanta in the U.S. Sandra is in our finished report there. Well, back home, one of the resolutions of techpreneurs out there is how to cash in on social media. Many online businesses are turning to video channels as YouTube to sell their products and make ready cash. Celebrity blogger Amel Deborah walks us through some secrets to getting paid on YouTube.
Well, the interesting thing is most of these platforms have a culture of their own, and things work according to their own way. So, for instance, what you can do with Twitter, you may not be able to do with Instagram, Facebook, or even YouTube. So it's important for people who are on these platforms to understand each of the platforms individually and then know how they can use it to maximize whatever it is that they do. Specifically on YouTube, here in Ghana, a lot of people have seen the ability to make some sort of money with it. And so you see a lot of YouTube channels popping up because of the ability to monetize your video. And of course, based on your audience, the interaction with advertising that is shown on your videos, then you make a certain amount of money over the period. So it's important for people to know each of the various platforms, how to use it, and yes, how to maximize all the potentials within there.
How much are you making out of YouTube?
So currently we're not making much. We are lucky if we make $500 in a month. Wow. It's also because our YouTube it's growing, and the nature of content we are doing is very different from what is known in that space. Okay. And so as content producers, our daily challenge has been, do we do what people want, or we stick to what we believe in and test it. Yeah. We change every now and then to introduce a bit of what people like, and then they respond to it. So we are still in that phase with our YouTube. But like I said, we have become an establishment altogether, and so we're able to use our presence on all the other social media platforms to make revenue, and at the end of the day, it adds up from all the various places. But we are still cracking YouTube because although I've had a YouTube channel that was very old, that was my personal one, and now Amir TV was from scratch, and so we had to introduce the content, the ideology to our audience, and that audience is growing over the period. Yeah.
Great submission, Amir.
There are people who are making up to $10,000, $30,000 a month. And so it shows you it can be done, and these people are in Ghana, so yes.
Celebrity blogger Amel Deborah on tips on making it big on YouTube. Well, Joy Business can confirm that there is a mad rush for fabrics used as school uniforms as retailers are cashing in from the high demand. This is happening as a result of the expected reopening of schools from next Friday, following President Akufo-Addo's announcement as part of various COVID-19 measures to check the spread. There is more in this report.
We are here to buy materials for our children. School has to resume, and we must prepare towards that. This shop sells materials, and we came to buy for our children. I've been here since 6 o'clock.
Since 6 o'clock in the morning?
Since 6 o'clock. It's a long queue. You could see the queue.
I came as early as 6:30. So I was in the queue till I got my turn, and I entered.
When you went inside, how was the cost of the material you wanted to buy?
The cost, the plain is 28, the designed one, the checkered one is 30 cedis.
I'm here because of school uniform. I came to buy school uniform for my children. It is very stressful to get it because a lot of people are there running for the uniform. That's why.
Yeah, it's crazy out here. It's just a who the obey car. Sisi ayakasa yakra mabre because omo to my in Kolana I can see obi about send the buy can see the children are becoming so big. It's a customers and about too much. But for parents no almost too much. Yeah.
So looking at the close down of schools, how did they affect you?
it was so sad because we were all hungry and the money wasn't coming. There was no sales. Nobody was buying uniforms, so we were all sitting here. But she said, there are say, Nana, we'll be a school now.
The mad rush there for school uniforms. We're going to measure the impact over the weekend to give you a report in our subsequent bulletins. But that's how we end business. My name is Charles IJ. Many thanks for your time.
Welcome back to Joynews Prime. Supporters of the Savannah Region branch of the opposition National Democratic Congress, led by second vice chairman of the party, Sofo Azoka, and some regional executives, poured onto the principal streets of Damongo amidst burning of ties in protest of the swearing in of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as president of the Republic. The demonstrators, who were given police escort, started from the party regional office through 77 Junction and Canteen community to the police regional headquarters before ending at the Damongo Town Park. Demonstrators carried placards with the inscriptions, "Even John Mahama can't stop us from protesting this flawed elections." So Mahama is declared, "You won't know peace. Jane Mensah and don't force Akufo-Addo on us. We don't want him," among others. At the end of the demonstration, the party's second national vice chairman, Sofo Azoka, in an interview, called on Ghanaians to join hands with the NDC to demand justice for former President John Dramani Mahama to be declared as president.
Who matter in this country? That, inshallah, Ghanaians stop. That they want good leadership. Ghanaians, come out in your numbers and tell the whole world that you need John Dramani Mahama to lead your country.
The Savannah Region Communication Officer of the party, Malik Basintele and Salisu Beawuribe, said Ghanaians have rejected President Akufo-Addo and want justice to be served in the case of Ghanaians who died during the election.
The representation of the people of Ghana have rejected Nana Akufo-Addo. And let me say that we know those members of parliament who did good for the democracy of this country. Moving forward, we will count them as silent members of the majority NDC in parliament.
Principally, the main objective is for them to be justice in the system. The first time ever we are having an election and over 8 people have been murdered. And practically the president speaks nothing about that. The first deputy speaker of parliament, Joe Wise, let's say Wise, no, he rather considered all of them as criminals, and for that matter, they should not even be investigated or sympathized with. It means that he is only speaking the mind of the MPP and the president for the fact that indeed people have been murdered in cold blood for the mere fact that they are exercising their right to protect the ballot that they voted for. This is the reason why we are asking for a thorough investigation.
And some of the supporters spoke with Joynews.
Legitimate president, the stolen verdict that they have stolen for Akufo-Addo. We know that Akufo-Addo has not been chosen by the people. He has been handpicked by Jane Mensah to go and rule few people in the council. And we don't need him. And we want him to give up. Yesterday he himself has shown us that that verdict has been stolen for him. Because the demeanor of the president himself has shown that the verdict has been stolen for him.
Sergeant Ajekumo, also speaks for the Savannah Region Police Command, has this to say.
Yes, as the law demands, they brought a letter notifying the police of their intention to demonstrate, and permission was given.
So, out on the street, are you okay with what they're doing, or they're violating the law by burning tires here and there?
It is their lawful right to demonstrate. If you think there is something bothering you, they have that right. That is why police gave them the permission to demonstrate. But to the extent of burning ties on the street and other places is unlawful.
So you disagree with them?
I disagree with the burning of the ties.
But why did they allow it? Even in front of your own nose? Look at the tie they put there, making vehicular movement very difficult. Why did they allow that?
You see, police, we have to handle every situation tactically. Looking at their numbers, if you want to do anything, it will either escalate issues. So during such things, we try to manage it so that it will not bring any further confusion.
So what is next?
The next is from here, they are going to their grounds to maybe give a talk to their members, I mean the leaders. So we pray that as it has been relatively peaceful, it will end like that.
From the Savannah region to the Ashanti region, residents in Kumasi are urging President Akufo-Addo to turn attention to developing the area as he begins his second term in government. While respondents wish the president well, they want him to show gratitude by developing the stronghold of the NPP. Many have condemned what happened in Parliament during the election of the Speaker for the 8th Parliament. They spoke with Love FM's Erastus Asari Donko.
Well, it's a holiday, and here in Kumasi, you can see the streets are empty today. But many of the residents have been following what happened in Parliament with a bit of sadness, especially in the stronghold of the NPP.
No. It was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. And I was asking myself, what happens to that MP who took the ballot paper? Is he more important than the citizen that took the ballot box than he was shot down or hurt? I don't understand, but it was too embarrassing.
During the December 7th polls, I think we actually talked a lot about some of these incidences, trying to run away with ballot boxes, all these things. And then I think the country, we actually managed that situation very well. And then we come to Parliament, the highest level of legislature, and then we see some of these incidences. And live on TV as well, for the whole world to see. I think it sends a wrong signal about the country. I would wish that the president make a comment and then see that the perpetrator is brought to book.
I feel sad or embarrassed for someone to come ask me, hey, I saw this on television with a member of parliament trying to do this and that. They should be our role models. But then what happened today doesn't show exemplary leadership. It doesn't show the sign of a good role model, and then that is really bad on the image of our country.
And that's how we wrap up the news tonight. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. Personality Profile is up next. Enjoy the rest of our program.